You're listening to the Less Than 1% podcast.
I appreciate you spending the time.
Appreciate you, bro.
My brother.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna vibe.
I'm ready.
I will explain a little bit of what the purpose of this is for, but it's just me and you are just gonna vibe. For the people in the audience, y'all know my feeling about the world and the idea that we create boxes for people. So ultimately, what we're going to talk about is your not fitting that box initially, and really your inability to ever be in a box ever again, which I love that about you.
I'm breaking out of a box right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. So, but before we, officially start, so you went to the fight last night.
Yes, I went to the fight. So just for context, we are talking today is Saturday, October 16th, Friday, October 15th. I was at the Tyson Jake Paul fight.
And you recovered. You look great.
I recovered. I'm good.
Yeah. So how was that? I mean, that's kind of iconic. Mike is just he's just iconic for the sport and everything. So how did that?
Iconic fight, but also going to a fight, to me, and I'm not the first one to say this, but Rick Rubin was one of the first, the great hip hop producer, Rick Rubin, where he said you can learn a lot about society and life, not through politics, not through governance, not through, even media, through wrestling, professional wrestling. But I actually think the sport of boxing even kind of predates what wrestling is. But when you go to a fight like that, and it was at AT&T Stadium,
right?
80,000 people like in the arena. Here's how big it was. There's the Jumbotron. Then there was the Jumbotron. Like there's another screen to convey what was happening. But you just get a look at what America is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I get it.
So it's extremely egalitarian. It's multiracial, multi-ethnic.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Also, all income classes too, of just like, Charlize Theron is there, but so is, a Puerto Rican immigrant family that wants to see Serrano fight Taylor. Like,
wow.
Do you see what I'm saying?
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah.
The whole breadth of America.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have dudes in top hats and fur coats, like his American Gangster, but then you'll have like a family. You just have like a father and a son. Dudes in cowboy hats sitting next to a Fortune 500 CEO.
Love it.
Wildly different economic and social strata here to kind of basically see proper gladiator fighting. I mean, it really is. It is quite literally that. I'm not into UFC per se. I've never been to a UFC match. But I could imagine that idea is similar and the same sort of, you don't have to know a lot about the rules when the body blows and the stuff happens. Yeah, people are on their feet and they're feeling the atmosphere. So is that part of it for me, just as a social experiment, was very fascinating.
So you were up in the nosebleeds, or
I was up.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I got great seat, and it was. And by the way, I didn't pay. This is one of the few benefits of this is one of the few times where I don't pay. I wasn't gonna pay, but Netflix was nice enough to have me be a part of it. But I really got to see everybody there, and I also, in a positive way, man. What's really, really cool is I got to see the love of what I think are like our modern, for lack of a better word, folk heroes.
Yeah.
Shaq was there.
Yeah.
Beloved. Lennox Lewis was there. Beloved. Evander Holyfield was there. Beloved. Sugar Ray Leonard. Beloved. People are like, yo, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've done. That was really cool.
That's awesome. That's
very,
awesome.
very cool to see.
And you, we've talked before about sports. I mean, I kind of tell people, when it comes to being a former athlete, I'm more former than athlete. And so, but I love what sports did for me personally, on this, CEO journey, has been so amazing. But I mean, sports in general, I mean, you talk about the gladiator, I mean, thousands of years of sport bringing lessons and learnings and, solving conflicts and I think I heard you talk about that before because you're a sports fan in general.
Yeah, and I loved playing sports growing up. Failed a lot in humiliating fashion at sports. But what's beautiful about it and what it helped me transition to in terms of my journey from that to I'll call it like my lifelong quest of being an artist, professional artist. Like that is what I do. And my craft is comedy. It really is an exploration of the self.
Wow.
And when I talk to people who didn't play sports, and it's very clear who did and did not play organized sports growing up, a lot of the conflicts that you deal with in day-to-day, just business life. I'm talking about W-2, W-9. You got to deal with Carol from accounting life. We're talking about LinkedIn life.
Right.
Is so much about like, obviously IQ, EQ, teamwork, like pushing yourself, like dealing with criticism and doubt, layoffs, failure. This is no different than, bro, it's the same thing as being cut from JV. Like this is the same thing. You come in, there's a pool of you. We're going to have performance reviews. There's tryouts.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Like, what were you working on? Hey, were you practicing during the summer? New variables have entered, right? Like, oh, the football players join basketball tryouts late. Fuck, not as built as the football. Oh, maybe I'll outskill them. Like these are all, this is not new. And those things, you learning those things at 14, 15, 16, to me, at the time, those, I mean, bro, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And you know this as someone who played in college.
Yeah.
To wear the jersey, to wear the warm-ups, to have the tearaways, to be a part of the arena.
Something
and the
bigger.
It's everything.
Man.
It's not just like, and this, Athena, your daughter, she's playing at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
Every game has that narrative in her mind. With time and distance, though, you realize you're like, it's not even about the game. This thing is going to reveal things about myself that's going to prepare me for age 40, 55, 75. Like this is preparing me for the whole, the game that's so much longer than 48 minutes.
It's so it's funny. You always, every time we talk, you have some deep lessons for me.
Right.
It's interesting. Like you're my friend. I mean,
sure.
Obviously, but
yeah. You've known me before. But
Yeah. But you, I respect the thing you said about being an artist is so true. And I think like the respect I have for you to take a genre, like we always focus on the genre, comedy or,
sure,
healthcare or
whatever it is.
But the idea of being an artist and painting, sort of painting your portrait within that genre is absolutely what we learned from sports. We had a picture of you. I know I kind of figured and learned that you were a Sacramento Kings fan. So we got some stuff. We got a picture of you.
And this is hard to come by.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We got a picture of you.
Of course. Yeah. There, that's me and my lady. Yeah. That's me and my wife.
Yeah. So I know.
Huge Kings fan.
Yeah. Yeah. You're all, and that's
all in.
Not the easiest thing.
No, it's been a painful journey. And that too is an allegory for life.
Right.
Pain, suffering, ridicule.
Right.
How do you stand 10 toes down?
Yes.
As people make fun of your city.
And still stay locked in.
Yeah. And I actually wear it as a badge of pride.
Awesome.
The pain and suffering I've been through versus a Patriots fan.
Right.
You have no idea.
Not even close.
You have no idea. Yeah.
So in my book that's coming out in January, I write about being an unlikely CEO. Like I was not like, you know me.
Yeah.
I'm always in, I always look like I'm running to the airport.
Yeah.
As you said, so I'm not, I did, I felt like I never fit the mold.
Sure.
And I actually was told by a lot of people that, this is not the right thing for you.
Right.
But here I am, right?
You are.
In some ways you're an unlikely comedian, if that's such a thing, right? I mean, you knew, but as these boxes are being painted for you as you're growing up.
Yeah.
How did you go through that? What I call less than 1% moments when you actually decide to break out of the box that everybody else has built for you so that you can pursue the thing and be authentically who you can be in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I'll kind of flip it back on you and then I can get to my story. But you ever have those moments where you were watching something, you're watching someone speak, a CEO, a business leader, and not to be disrespectful, but you go, I could do that.
Right.
I think I could do that.
Right.
There was a couple moments like that where I think it was two things happening at once, which was the confluence of like, I knew I had a particular gift or skill set. Steve Harvey has this great story about not following your passion, but following your gift. Where he's like, I'm passionate about basketball. I'm passionate about golf. I'm not a good,
Right,
I'm not a
that's
good
not your
golfer,
gift.
but I'm passionate. I'm very passionate. But he's like, I got this gift of gab. I got this gift of performing. And he's like, your gift, again, shout out to Steve. Your gift is something that you have a natural affinity or alacrity to. In other words, and this is going to sound weird to say because we got kids. We don't want to tell them this. Hey, what are you good at even when you're being lazy? Like when you know how you're late for class, you stumbled out of bed, your hair's all messed up. My hair's, I got hair problems, but my hair's all messed up. I don't. Yeah, you don't got to worry about that. But your hair's all messed up, and you're coming into chemistry class, and you ace the test, right? And you didn't study, and you actually didn't even eat breakfast. So you're actually just running on like a Mountain Dew and just adrenaline, right. And you get a 98 on the chem test.
That's your gift.
That's your gift. Like everybody's like, I got to dunk. That's actually, you have to be acutely attuned into and your gift can be anything. You could be that person that walks into the room and you're like, God damn, everybody thinks you're the funniest or the most charming, or the silliest. It's like these little things, but you really got to be attuned into what your gift is. And I'm not trying to get spiritual about it, but like destiny, God, Kismet, Yahweh, Allah, He is going to show you that. You just got to be aware. And I don't know. I just got to, the way you organize a spreadsheet, you're like, dude, you're going to be the P&L guy. You know this. Like,
right. That's your special.
That's your specialty. Or you have a sibling that like, you're like, God damn, the way, I used to have this roommate, David, shout out David. I just saw the way he hung his ties. And I was like, man, bro, you're going to be an amazing business leader. And he turned out to be that. He's that dude. Just Loro Piana suit. I mean, like the peak of his lapel is perfect. The way his tie lies is perfect. I'm like, bro, this is your gift.
This is your gift. This is
now
who you are.
You keep going into that vein.
Right.
And the path will unfold. I told you this about Athena when you told me about her work ethic. I'm like, bro, basketball is, it could be the 9th thing that she's best at. When you talked about how like your daughter, God bless her, is you're like, she's ferocious, she's tenacious, she's dialed in, her work ethic's crazy. Like I was like, oh, so she could work at Blackstone, BlackRock, investment. She could do whatever she wants to do. Like, but her grit, her fight, that might be her gift.
Yes.
I didn't get the pleasure to meet her yet, but as someone with 2 children, 6 and 4, I'm still trying to discover that. Like, hey, man, what's your thing? Like, what's that gift that was like that you have, and I can help put you in places where that can come out. So this is the long-winded answer of, so I saw early on, I kind of had this gift of gab, of arguing. Sometimes when I'd be with my friends and we'd get in trouble, a teacher would come in or a parent would come in and they go, what happened? And all my boys would be like, yo, don't let Hasan say what happened. Because he's gonna make it sound crazier than what it really was. Right. Which is comedy. Like comedy is all about exaggerating.
Right. How old were you when you figured this out?
I was 14, 15. I was 14 or 15 years old, 8th, 9th grade. So, like if anyone was 14, 15 and you're hanging out with Du Bois with a Z, that's peak sleepover age. Yeah. You're going to a friend's house. You guys are staying up all night. You're playing video games, getting into just your roughhousing, your wrestling. You got the parent, what's going on down there? And then a parent comes down.
And you're telling the story.
Why did this break? I told you guys not to do this. And this Mikasa vase that I got from Costco, whatever, 16 years ago is broken. What happened? And I would tell these insane stories. And then this happened, and then he did this. And, they'd be like, that's not what happened,
Yeah.
But I realized like that was, at the time, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just bullshit. But that's comedy. That's what it takes to write a great scene.
Yeah.
Hey, paint a picture, make it extremely entertaining and moving. And I'm laughing 1 minute. Now I'm sad. Now, how are we, you know, and that's performance. I just didn't know what it was. So there was that part of it. And then just at a young age, and maybe you had this, we all have these kind of like, for whatever you want to call it, your superhero origin story.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember at a very young age, I realized talking to adults, there were certain adults and teachers where I had a group of friends that like believed what Mrs. Leddington was saying. And then I was part of that small group of people. I was almost like a young conspiracy theorist in that way, where I'm like, I think the adults in charge don't have any idea what they're doing.
Right.
And that little seed of like irreverence, that little seed of putting on your bullshit detector goggles, I had that at a young age. I just didn't know that was actually necessary for comedy. That's all what satire is, like pointing out the absurd.
Right.
That's all comedy is.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that you wear da-da-da-da and then you do this on a plane? Like, that's all it is, you know?
So you
it's just bullshit detector goggles. I'll give you an example. I was on the plane coming out for the fight. There's now this new thing. You got the lap band, right?
Yeah.
When they tell you this.
Yeah.
But now they ask you to do the cross.
Yeah.
Again, bullshit detector goggles. I go, oh, so this is going to save me.
Right.
This joint in the past, plane goes down, everybody dies. But now that we got the cross strap, that Malaysian airline that went down, everybody would have clearly been saved if they had just horizontal.
That's the key.
So it's like that.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I was in first or second grade, everybody was like, well, Miss Leddington says we have to cross it here.
Right.
It was my mind to be like, you're in a plane that's we're all dead.
Right.
There's nothing I'm going to change it. So that's like the beginning of a bit, or like a joke, is determining and pointing out some sort of hypocrisy or some sort of, pardon my French, some bullshit doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's not adding up.
So you're seeing these gifts, you know, I kind of call them superpowers. You like superhero origin story.
Yeah.
You have, so you're seeing these gifts, but
there's nowhere to place them.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So there are all these little like boxes, if you will, that you're trying to figure out if you should belong into, right? I mean, there's the smart kid box, and then there's the athlete box, and there's the, future going to be in prison box and all this stuff.
Yeah.
As you're seeing those boxes, knowing those gifts may not allow you to fit into those boxes, how are you navigating that? That's got to be, I mean, almost like disconcerting and sad in a way.
Yeah, but I think in a weird way, I didn't know this at the time, but everybody's going through it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's the thing. Yeah. But, being 14, 15, 16, 17, and also we don't talk about this enough, just being a young man.
Yeah.
Being in your early 20s, you're basically just trying to figure out, what's my purpose? There's all this emotion around it, and you have older children now too. A lot of the behavior, the whiling out, really what it is like if you actually get through all that underbrush and get to the core, you're just like, look, bro, what am I doing here?
Who am I in the world, and what it is that I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, and like, where am I special? Where do I belong? Where am I of value?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Strong.
And where can, like, real talk, where can the people who love me or that I want to be seen by see me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're the athlete, there's all these systems in place,
Yeah.
Coach Gutierrez is like, that's right, Moo. Hell of a tackle. So you're getting that feedback at 9th grade. You're getting that feedback at, like, I remember being, I've actually never told this. I've only told the story before, but I remember my high school graduation, 2003. I graduated high school in 2003, and I remember, you're sitting in, generic football field in any town in America. Everybody had a high school graduation like this. They did this thing about the top 10 kids at the school. So the principal gets up there and they go, so Ben Davis attending Harvard University, and everyone's clapping. So-and-so attending Cornell, and everyone's like, yeah. I can kind of see that, and I can see the crowd reacting. And then like so-and-so attending Stanford University. And then I was like, he's good. And then the audience is like confirming that he's good.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Davis. I graduated from Davis High. And then I went to UC Davis. So I was staying at home. And I'll never forget that June summer evening and the sun is setting. It's my senior year of high school. And I'm like watching these kids, these like 15 kids, and they get to walk the stage first. And my ass is like, I got to go back upstairs to my childhood bedroom and sleep underneath my Scottie Pippen poster. And I'm like, so this dude's about to go to Boston to go to Harvard to be classmates with Mark Zuckerberg and change the world. And they're going to make an Aaron Sorkin movie about his time. And you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And my loser ass is going to be upstairs while my mom's calling me, Berta, come get your food. That's my life. And I was like, man, I wish I could be that person. Like, I've never heard people really say that, but I spent a lot of time in my life being like, man, I wish I could be you. I wish I could cut my finger off to live your life. But what I was just seeking was like, man, I just want that.
Yeah.
I want someone to say my name, and I want my parents to look at me that way and say, that's my son, or he's him. Yeah. He's worthwhile.
Yeah. So
he's worth something. He's worthy of being here.
Yeah. I mean, lots in
There's
there.
There's a lot in that. I'm sorry.
Lots in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so much of.
But I was really seeking that.
Yeah. For real. Probably still seeking. Maybe not the moment. Yeah. But the ability to have impact with your superpower.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know at its core, seeking that in and of itself, and I've achieved a lot, and I've gotten a version of that of, hey, you walk out on stage and look, people are clapping for you.
Right.
But the further you go down that path too, it's also like, it can't be about that in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I have to prove that I deserve to be here.
Right.
Like, you saw the fight last night. They obviously interviewed Mike. I don't think enough people are talking about it, but they asked him, I think the broadcaster asked Mike Tyson, I'm paraphrasing here, but hey, did you feel like you had to prove anything to anyone? And he goes, I didn't have to. It was about proving it to myself. Meaning like, hey man, this has nothing to do with the 120 million people watching this on Netflix. This is about like, I want the distance for me.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
No,
and like, I'm watching him say it, and I'm like, I believe he believes what he's saying.
Yes. Especially Mike. Yeah. Especially Mike, right? I mean, he doesn't say a whole lot that he.
So that's quite zen.
Wow.
Of him to say that,
Yeah.
Did you see that viral clip of him with the little girl?
No. Oh yeah.
I mean, bro, this is the most Buddhist.
Yeah.
We are all just nothing but.
Yeah.
Dust and time.
Yeah.
It was like heavy.
So
kind of crazy to share with like a 12-year-old, but pretty morbid. But it was pretty powerful. His whole thing, that viral clip about legacy.
No, I think you 100%. We've talked about this before, and in respect to both my journey, your journey. We talked about our kids and their journeys, and really what is ultimately, what the highs and lows of being a parent. Because I think we have a picture here of your family, beautiful family, amazing, amazing family. Except we got to worry a little bit about your boy. I mean, he's brooding in that picture.
Oh yeah, he's straight up mugging the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the highs and lows of parenting, and I think to your point, and I took that counsel from you, and you rocked me that night. I don't know if you were trying to, but you rocked me that night, because I bounce, I'm super high when Athena does well, or Ryan does well, and whatever, with school basketball or whatever.
Right.
And I'm super low when they have a struggle. And like
this was the night of the fundraiser that I rocked you, or just
the night before the fundraiser.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. You remember we talked that night.
We were just waxing.
We were just vibing.
Yeah, we were just vibing. Yeah.
And you literally cut me. I left that night, and I couldn't sleep, because I'm like,
really?
Yeah, because you were right. Like, my highs and lows were about that moment and that thing they did or they didn't do, and how I felt, frankly, which is not that important, but how I felt about what they did or didn't do. And I wasn't really focused on their gift and how that thing that it wasn't that moment that they're learning about that gift that they need to use forever. To your point about Athena, is just, she's ferocious, you know. Yeah. Orion is like Mr. Gentleman, like all of those things that they have as their superhero, their superpower.
Yeah.
Doesn't lend itself to winning every opportunity at first throughout life, sure, or losing every opportunity. Yeah. There are going to be times where that gift does not line up. And I had to sit back and say, okay, the times I'm unhappy about a loss,
yeah,
I mean, maybe I shouldn't be. And the times I'm happy about a win, maybe I shouldn't be. Right? Like,
bro,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, precisely.
You know,
yeah, I mean, look, luck has a lot to do with it too. Let me give you 9 examples of, you know, and there's all these, whatever you want to call them, Steve Jobs stories, Michael Jordan stories, Kobe stories of like, it was my grit and determination that got, sure.
Right.
Let me give you examples of just like, hey man, something is going my way, momentum is going my way. I don't even deserve it, but it's happening. So you catch good ones that you don't deserve, and you also catch bad ones you don't deserve. Sometimes if you're playing a sport and you're like, God, our star shooting guard just blows out his knee. It's not part of the plan. There's no amount of carbs or sugar or protein intake that could save you from that. We're at that age now, man, where loved ones are getting cancer. Stage 4, terminal esophageal cancer, pancreatic cancer. And you know this as a physician, you're just like, what, age 49? Where's this coming from? What bad decision did you make that made you deserve that? No, you don't deserve that. The long answer is you don't deserve that. I have friends that their parents have died of cancer. They have never smoked a cigarette, throat cancer, never smoked a cigarette in their life. So there's times where it's just like, hey man, you caught a bad one. You know, we're basketball fans. You happen to play for a franchise that can be extremely painful at times. And that's your career. Mitch Richmond, you know, a lot of years he played for, and I wish Mitch could have gotten a ring. He didn't, because he happened to play for this team versus had he played for the Spurs or he played for the Lakers. You know, he would have gotten a chip. I think he did get a chip with the Lakers, but my point is that had nothing to do with the amount of jumpers he was taking
or the greater determination.
Yeah. So there's that in that way. Then you look at, I'll give you another example. We're a little bit older here, you know, hopefully everybody here is tucking a bit away into our Roth IRAs and our 401ks. As we speak right now, we didn't know the election went a certain way and the stock market ripped. And when you check into your Vanguard account, you look like a genius. You're like, look at me. 22%, like, woo, your boy's killing. You have no control over that.
Nothing to do.
It could have completely gone the other way too, that you did not have any control over. Again, I'm holding, say, the S&P 500. Those are 500 companies. I don't control their economic performance like a dial. I'm catching a good one. But the things that I think I do give credit for, and I try to remind myself of this, and when I see it in my kids, is like the feeling of, did you give it your all? So when you talk about Athena, or you talk about Orion, and you know this as a father, when you see that in their eyes, when they jump in the deep end of whatever that proverbial deep end is, where I was like, man, you were scared, but you did that. You rode that roller coaster ride at Six Flags and you didn't want to. I can take great pride in that. I don't know if you can take great pride in it, but I try to remind myself of that as I go along.
Right.
That, like, no matter what happens, I have a great show or I bomb. Like, hey man, I stuck to the script. I was prepared. I gave it my all, and I emptied the take. And there's nobody in the comment section. There's no Redditor. There's nobody in the stands that can ever make me feel less than what I've set out to do.
That's awesome.
I was ready to go since 6 a.m.
Yes.
The suit was laid out. It
Yes.
was already pre-pressed. The set list was printed out. I ran it X amount of times. I stood on that stage. Sure, the lights went out, the mic cut out, but like, I did what I came to do.
Yes.
I don't give a fuck what you have to say. You know what I mean? Like, you have no
goosebumps.
idea. Yeah, I don't give a fuck what you have to say.
Right.
You
Love it.
I know for a fact, whatever your name is in the comment section or whatever you're heckling, you couldn't walk. You couldn't walk.
Not a minute, bro.
Your fucking suit would have been crumpled. Your set list would have been printed out. You can't say shit. And that level of like confidence comes from, man, I followed the process. I followed the program. I stayed true to the plan. And that goes for everybody who's like from an athlete to, you know, to people who I really feel like exhibit real courage. If you go to a hospital and you see people dying of terminal illnesses, and as they're getting that chemotherapy, they're like, hey, I'm going to step through this and follow my plan, win, lose, death or draw. Like that to me is powerful.
That's so,
and that is like, that's the real, like,
that's the real thing.
That's life.
Yeah. Well, you know, I used to talk about, you know, my first book, which no one read. I used to talk about game day prep.
I'm getting to it.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. I talk about game day prep. And the idea behind game day prep is just what you talked about. It's like no matter what, and people think, okay, obviously you're going to play in the Super Bowl, you're going to have a game day prep. But if you game day prep for Saturday, hanging out, you know, with Moo, or if you game day prep for dinner, you know, that I think that's what you're like. You know that I love what you said. They're like, why am I even listening to you? Like, you know, I know who I am and what I do. Why am I even listening to what you have to say?
Oh, you think your breakfast is dialed in like mine? You have no
idea.
You can walk a not even a mile. You can walk a fucking 100 meters in my shoes.
But they're people though, not sort of critics or you know, the behind the veil of X or behind the veil of Instagram, say whatever you want to say. But there's people that...
Sure, or even at your own office.
Right.
And I'm like, for me, the thing that I always try to like remind yourself of is like, just remind yourself, I'm him, I'm her.
Yeah.
Down to like the details of like, man, look at the way my whole backpack is organized.
Right.
Laptop here, iPad here, manila folder here, boom, boom, boom. Like, and to be like, don't let anybody... And what I'm saying is the minutia of those details is a reflection of who you are. You know what I'm saying? And so like, if someone makes you feel, and you know, Athena must deal with this as an athlete. I'm taller than you. I got more natural gifts than you. But I'm like, you know, Father Time will take all of those things away from you. You know, I've been to a lot of Knick games, and you look at guys that were giants when I was a child, Larry Johnson, Patrick Ewing. They're older men now.
Yeah.
They're their age. Or last night, Tyson.
Yeah.
Like, he's a 58-year-old man.
Yeah.
But the thing they can never take away from you is your character.
Yeah.
Like who you actually are.
Yeah.
Mental acuity, the spirit of who you are. And that's why, like, to me, my GOATs right now, the guys that I look up to, and I'm proud to say, you know, they're a friend. Someone like JJ Redick is a friend.
Yeah, we talked about that.
To be like, look, man, this guy was one of the most hated people in college. People don't know this. For him just to get to Duke, he came from Roanoke, Virginia, which is like the cuts. Yeah. You know, his parents were two hippies. Like, he did not come, even though he became a Duke prodigy, he did not come from like Duke prodigy stock.
Yes.
He came from like, hey, I'm going to, you know, go on ayahuasca retreats and like be a hippie and be, you know. Then for him to go to Duke, I remember when he graduated Duke, I was a person who was like, man, this guy's going to be out of the league in 2 years. He was in this Coach K system, cut to a 15-year career later. And how many guys do you see then at the next level? All right, now you're done playing. Oh, cool. You had it. Good for you. You eked it out. And to then go into broadcasting and go like, I'm going to take that same determination, vision, all that. He brought that to broadcasting within 3-4 years. And now you look at what he's doing with the Lakers. Again, win, lose, or draw. I'm just proud to say, just as a colleague and as a friend, I'm like, man, this guy, it doesn't matter what he's doing. Just the what's being exposed over time is his character.
Yeah. Well,
that's what's being exposed over time.
Bronny's on, you know, in the G League now, which is, I mean, that speaks to his character. I mean, I think that's a tough conversation to have. I know if I was, my son is on the team, you know, he's playing next to me. So that was a tough decision. But your family, so I just want to, your family and friends, people are close to you. Yeah. When you think you let them down, or, you know, actually let's, Jordan, play that clip. I want to talk a little bit about.
Oh my God, it's me with my parents. All right, here we go. Mom and Dad.
What was the time I let you down the most?
When I will take you to soccer field.
Oh, man.
Soccer game. Ball is going into this direction and you're running into this direction. Every parent thinks that, okay, their son or daughter should be able to make a goal and score a goal and all that. But you wouldn't be able to.
You were disappointed that I couldn't score a goal?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real. Yo, that's real. That is so real. Oh, man.
I'm just curious, how do you go in one direction and the ball goes in it? That is that's a gift.
Yeah, that was a gift of being utterly horrible at soccer. Yeah, bro, he was right. He was right. Yeah. I hated soccer.
So that was a good redirection, not to do the soccer thing anymore.
Hilarious, yeah. And he wanted me to, growing up in India, soccer is very popular. So
for sure.
Of course, he'd want me to go there, do it.
But there was also a time where you, speaking back to your gift, your superpower, and getting, sort of small, nuggets of information that might be what the tool you ought to use.
Yeah.
But you kind of hit it. You hit it from a lot of people.
Which is why. What tool?
The tool of being able to seek out bullshit.
Yeah.
The tool that you're able to
identify,
that you're able to sort of debate your way, use at obviously satire, sarcasm,
humor
to tell your story.
Yeah.
You didn't just say, "Hey, this is my thing. I'm doing it." And let's play the other clip also.
Oh, man, Moo's really throwing a clip.
Who's
the host?
Which one was it?
You sort of revealed it. You on Ellen. I think it was on Ellen.
Oh, okay.
Where you got caught. You got caught with your because you were trying to use your gifts.
Yeah.
And you were trying to hone your gifts.
Right.
And
you want me to take a look?
But
let's watch it.
But wait, before we get to that, so when did you start in stand-up and how supportive were they?
Well, I would actually, Mom, you know this, we had our little secret. I was in college, and I would say, hey, I'm going to the library. And then I would take the Camry, and Mom would tell Dad, hey, he's going to the library. And so we lived in Davis, and I would drive to the San Francisco Punchline. So it was about an hour.
Yeah.
And one of these nights when I was going to the library, I ended up crashing the car in Vallejo, which is on the way.
Bad place to crash your car, by the way.
Bad place to crash the car.
Home, and Mom, I remember you passed the phone to Dad, and you're like, I can't cover for you anymore. And so I had my dad come to Vallejo, and it was raining, it was super dramatic. And he was like, this is really far for the library, Hasan.
Oh, man.
And I just had this moment where I was like, Dad,
this is embarrassing.
I'm a stand-up comedian. And he was like, why couldn't you be smoking weed like everyone else? And that's when I found out that Najmi Minhaj is 420 friendly, so that's cool.
Pro-drugs. My dad's pro-drugs, anti-comedy.
Yeah. What was that moment like? Because now your gift, right? You identify this gift.
Yeah.
You're starting to hone it. You're starting to let go of the boxes that everybody else in, but now the box explodes because now he knows you're not studying to go to medical school.
Right.
You're actually going to be a comedian.
Yeah. That was
I think I feel like knowing you as my friend. Yeah. I feel like I'm taking you to a moment right now.
Totally.
That you didn't expect.
Yeah. I did not. But yeah. So I was like, oh man, we're going deep into the depths. Yeah, there's always there are many crossroad moments in your life. That was a crossroad moment. It was a crossroad moment really from childhood to adulthood, which was a little bit of a burn the boats moment. So obviously I'm an undergrad, I'm living at home, and it was really kind of a moment of, okay, are you studying to go to med school or law school, or are you pursuing this insane comedy thing? And that was the beginning, unfortunately, for a short-term period of time where Mufasa and Simba were not talking, where it was like, hey, I'm going this way. And there's no clear results for what that is.
Wow.
And I'm burning the boats, this whole thing called, undergrad and being a good student and getting into grad school. I'm crashing that.
Wow. That's an emotional moment.
It's very tough. Very tough. And it's very tough. Now I know this as a parent, I could totally understand where my dad's coming from, because all you want, it's not about you're not, because I feel this with my daughter and my son, you're not pursuing the ceiling. I don't care if, they win the Nobel Peace Prize or not. Does my son become an astronaut or not? What you're trying to do is raise the floor. At least
the floor is the issue for parents.
I just want you to be okay.
Yes.
And we can determine where the floor is, but I don't want you to be in abject poverty. I don't want you to fumble the opportunities that we've built. We've built a floor that's pretty nice. We're at a pretty nice floor here.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedian, aspiring stand-up comedian, it can get pretty down. It can get you have no idea how far down that can go. And so his concern was that, which was, what are the downstream effects of this insane choice? Will you be able to get married? Are you going to be able to have kids? Are you going to be able to provide for them? All these sort of things. And little did they know that, like,
you would absolutely monster it.
No, I was able to pull my wife when I was dead broke, and little did they know I was able to pull a doctor. A failing stand-up comic. So that was my little
Euro step.
That was a hero step. Yeah. Being, I see your logic, and I evade it with my charisma and charm.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a child of an immigrant. My parents moved to Canada. There's that pressure.
Yeah.
And then I immigrated here.
Yes.
And so my kids are, the child of an immigrant.
Yeah.
And so there's a culture component to that.
They're a generation removed from the.
Yeah, exactly. From Jamaica. And so, but there's a culture component to that. I love the idea of the floor. So you've rocked me again.
Right.
It's really it's not the heights. It's not the heights that you're concerned about. It's the floor. But how did that? There's some culture components to you now going to do this unlikely career of being a comedian.
Yeah. So there are some cultural components. You are, and this being a CEO and the level that you're at, you are entering a room in a paradigm that has not been broken. Very rare, extremely rare. When you look at the number of Fortune 500 CEOs that are black men or women, extremely rare. That are Jamaican, extremely rare. So it's terrifying. And if you think about the statistics, you might not want to pursue that. Simultaneously, we were talking about this off mic about superheroes and superhero stories and all that sort of stuff. In a weird way, as much as you love those movies, there's a certain point you come to in your life, especially as an immigrant and as a child of immigrants, you learn to realize, I actually shouldn't be reading comic books. I have to be my own superhero story. Like I'm not going to see it.
Yes.
Clark Kent doesn't look like me. I have to be Clark Kent, or I have to be, that character.
Yeah.
That's what it is. In a weird way, you have to create this new paradigm, which is terrifying and scary, But I don't know. There was something about it where, and you must have noticed this the more you climb. When I look at my parents' generation, I just look at anybody who came from any part of the world, Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, the Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, Korea, it doesn't matter, Mexico, Venezuela, Dominican Republic. When you look at the way our parents built any of their businesses, it was really just figureitout.gov.
Right.
Like they would just straight up drive by. I'll never forget this. I interned for this uncle that my dad was a family friend of, and I'll never forget this. We were driving. I was working at his firm over a summer. We're driving, and this is when I learned about just real estate. How do you own a building? So we're driving one day, and we're driving past an apartment complex in downtown Sacramento. The sign says, I'll never forget this. It says 10th and T Apartments. Call now, 916-789-4474 or whatever. And I'm looking at this guy. He sees it. I'm in maybe 9th or 10th grade. He picks up his phone. 916. Hello? Who is this? Oh, hey, it's Carl. Hey, hello, Carl. I'm interested in 10th and T Apartments. And I know this sounds like a very stupid story, but what it showed me was like, that's the world. That's all it is. Hey, there's a building. There's no like monopoly man who owns the building. I'm John D. Rockefeller. Like, you have to call me. No, there's some guy named Carl in Sacramento. You know what I mean? This is his 4th investment property. He's looking to offset it because, his son has a crippling drug habit and doesn't want to pass it off to him. In comes this Indian immigrant man who's a friend of my dad, who has a sense of alacrity, purpose, and quite frankly, frugality, and can see a good deal. He's just going to call that guy. They're going to get on a phone. He's going to call an attorney who happens to be like a friend of you guys have, hey, I know another Jamaican attorney. Family friend of ours. We'll call him. He'll do the paperwork. We sign the paperwork. Congratulations. You now have a commercial building in downtown Sacramento, California. Wow. What's my point? How does this connect to Hollywood? Okay, you want to shoot a movie. Great, you need a crew. All right, you call a line producer. Well, what does a line producer do? Do they have a suit and do they have like a little hat and an ear set? No, it's just some lady named Carol. Carol then calls a bunch of people. She puts together a budget. She budgets out that tripod, that camera, the lav mics, this. They put it together. They email you a PDF. It's $18,000 to rent this equipment. Do you confirm? Yes, I confirm. And now it's here. Wow. Cool. Now we shoot it. Like, congratulations. You are now shooting a television show, or you're shooting a scene for a movie. Wow. So like, it was the point of that story was it was a moment where I realized the world isn't this like, it's not this fixed thing. It's a thing where I can like push it and move it and like it will push back and respond back. So just call Carl. Yeah. And then that will lead to this and this, and more information will then come my way. Yeah. And it's not, look, you might call Carl, he may not call you back. This is an allegory for just get to the next monkey bar. Yeah. Let that information come and then make adjustments along the way. Pivot, Euro along the way. But you'll figure it out. Does that make sense? No, I mean, I'm thinking of... But that's life. Yeah, that's life. Hey, we lived in Fresno. You're here in Dallas. Where are we going to live? Oh, a friend said Plano. Cool. Yeah. Call a couple people in Plano. You meet the real estate agent. Well, this person seems like a grifter. Okay, we'll go to another. No, but you shouldn't live in Plano. You should live here. Arlington. Yeah. Got it. Let me go to... Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, 100%. But that's like that's everything. That's every little detail, Even the work we do together with Vituti Cares Foundation, right? Yeah. And Magic Johnson. I mean, that was a call. Oh, hey, Scott Becker. Like, all of a sudden I'm on stage with Magic, and Magic's like, on stage with Magic. You want to work together? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. Yeah. To your point, I think it's now he wrote your forward. Yeah. I mean, cool. Go figure. That's But what are you doing there? You are taking the next step. Yeah. Success or failure is happening. Information is coming at you. And, you look at my career, there's some stuff that went my way. There's some moments where I got fucking checked. Yes. But in my best moments, I realized like, that's just information coming at you very fast. So like when you get punched in the nose, very quickly. Right. So just listen to that information and then make your next move. So I want you to think about on this podcast, what I always do is ask people what's their superpower. So I want you to think about what's your superpower while, you talked about a lot of different things in your life. And I think I know for me, a lot of the tenets of who I am come from the tree, grandparents, you go back way back when, the parents. So I want to play another clip where you discuss sort of the two tenets, one from your mom and one from your dad. Oh, wow. Yeah. And that, bro, you went through the craze. Hey, we tried, I'm a DJ at heart, right?
Okay, the best piece of advice, it wasn't even advice, it's stuff that I saw. Yeah. I saw from you. You really taught me to be an entrepreneur because I saw the way you would always make stuff happen. You would make me my Halloween costumes, or you would have an idea for something and you would just come up with it and you would make it and you would do it. And that's how like a lot of the stuff that I've done in my career, I sort of had that entrepreneurial spirit, but I saw that from you. And then from Dad, I learned conflict mediation. You don't have a lot of enemies.
I care about people, and I think this is what I notice in you too. You see that you basically care about people.
No, but I would see you sometimes like let I full-on fistfights in the mosque parking lot.
Yeah.
And you would like be breaking it up.
Yeah. Don't get mad at each other and don't try to hurt each other.
So
that's great. That's a beautiful clip. Man, you got me tearing up, man. That was beautiful.
No, when I watched you, No, I mean, it actually is emotional for me too, because I know I always joke with Bina about you, right?
Yeah.
Because it almost feels like we have, there's, I'm not saying a connection. Let's not get weird. Let's get weird.
No, we get weird.
But there's a connection to just, your parents. The way, I watched on that clip, we watched it about 45 times.
Yeah.
And what's the most important thing about that clip, I mean, we could talk about entrepreneurship, like we could talk about conflict resolution, but it's the way you look at them.
Yeah.
It's the way you look at them. And I, even though you're sort of recording this, and I know there's a studio behind.
Yeah.
The way you're looking at them, I can see into, you're looking into her soul.
Right. And
she's explaining a small piece of what she's tried to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
she's a lot. She means a lot to me. Yeah.
So
you can't even articulate it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. She's the best. Very lucky. Very, very, very lucky. I have an amazing mother.
Yeah, that's amazing. So now that I've
got me tearing.
This is the Less Than 1% podcast. Tune in to the next episode for part 2.